Hello, dear friends. Today I am here to tell you the story of Byzantium, a glorious and mysterious empire, the saga of a civilization full of art, culture, and wisdom that ruled the Mediterranean for thousands of years. If you are ready, let's take a journey through time and step into the fascinating world of Byzantium. This empire was not only a state, but also a belief system, a way of life, and a treasure trove of art. The Byzantines were intelligent and creative people, devoted to their faith. They produced outstanding works of architecture, art, and literature. They also made important advances in philosophy, law, and science. But Byzantium's history was also full of wars and hardships. They fought enemies, struggled with rebellions, and battled natural disasters. But each time, with their resilient spirit, they managed to get back on their feet. Byzantium was not only an empire, but also a center of trade and a bridge of culture. People from all over the world flocked to the city to trade, exchange knowledge, and benefit from Byzantium's rich culture. The story of Byzantium is much more than just a memory of the past. The legacy of this empire is still alive today. We can see traces of Byzantium in our art, architecture, legal system, and even our language. The story I am going to tell you today is not only the story of an empire, but also the story of humanity. In this story, you will find universal themes of courage, sacrifice, betrayal, love, and victory. If you are ready, dear friends, let us begin the unforgettable story of Byzantium. In the 3rd century AD, the Roman Empire was suffering from many problems, including civil wars, rebellions, and economic collapse. This made it difficult to govern the empire and weakened the central authority. Emperor Diocletian decided to take a radical step to solve these problems. In 284 AD, he divided the empire in two and created two separate administrative regions, the East and the West. An Augustus Great Emperor was appointed at the head of each region. Diocletian declared himself Augustus of the East and appointed Maximian as Augustus of the West. But Diocletian knew this was not enough. He took the next step to further stabilize the empire. In 293 AD, he appointed a Caesar petty emperor under each Augustus. These Caesars would be groomed as successors to the Augustuses and prepared to take the imperial throne. This new system of government was called Tetrarchy quadripartite government. The Tetrarchy system aimed to strengthen central authority by dividing the empire into smaller and more manageable units. Also, having more than one emperor would prevent one person from having too much power. The Tetrarchy system was quite successful at first. The empire stabilized for a while and civil wars ended. But with Diocletian's retirement in 305 and Maximian's death in 308, the system began to collapse. The emperors who succeeded Diocletian tried to maintain the Tetrarchy system. However, the system lost its function due to internal conflicts and fights for the throne. At the end of the 4th century AD, the Tetrarchy system was completely abandoned and the Roman Empire was again divided into two. This time, two separate empires were established, the Eastern and Western empires. Although the Tetrarchy system did not bring the end of the Roman Empire, it did stabilize it for a while. It also influenced the Byzantine Empire system of government. The Byzantine emperors were inspired by the Tetrarchy system and created their own system of government. After the collapse of the Tetrarchy system, the Roman Empire fell into chaos. Emperors fought each other for the throne and the empire was divided into many parts. In this chaos, Constantine, a soldier, came to the fore. Constantine was born in 272 AD. His father, Constantius Chlorus, was one of the Caesars of the Tetrarchy. At a young age, Constantine grew up in the army with his father. Standing out with his military skills and charisma, Constantine rose rapidly. In 306 AD, Galerius died as one of the Augustuses of the Tetrarchy. After Galerius' death, many people started to fight for the imperial throne. Constantine also joined this struggle. In 312 AD, he defeated his rival Maxentius at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge and became Emperor of Rome. This victory gave Constantine complete control over the empire. Once on the throne, Constantine began to reunify and stabilize the empire. To this end, he introduced many reforms and changed the way the empire was governed. One of Constantine's most important reforms was the adoption of Christianity as the official religion. At the time, Christians were being persecuted in the Roman Empire. Constantine followed a policy of tolerance towards Christians and issued the Edict of Milan in 313. With this edict, Christians were granted freedom of belief and worship. Constantine's acceptance of Christianity was a turning point in the history of the empire. This decision led to the spread and strengthening of Christianity in the Roman Empire. Constantine also built many churches and cathedrals for Christians. There were many reasons why Constantine converted to Christianity. Some historians argue that Constantine was influenced by the Christian faith, while others argue that it was a political move. Whatever the reason, Constantine's conversion to Christianity had a profound impact on the identity and history of the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire was founded as a Christian empire and was the center of the Christian faith for centuries. In 324 AD, Constantine became the sole ruler of the Roman Empire. Having succeeded in reuniting and strengthening the empire, Constantine felt that Rome, the capital of the empire, could no longer meet his needs. The city of Rome had become too crowded and chaotic. Also, Rome's position was weak in terms of defense. For these reasons, Constantine decided to build a new capital. The new capital would be the political, commercial, and cultural center of the empire. Constantine considered many cities in his search for an ideal location for the new capital. In the end, he chose the ancient Byzantine city in the Thracian region of Greece. The Byzantine city was located at the entrance to the strait between Europe and Asia. This location made it both commercially and strategically important. The Byzantine city was also a protected place with natural harbors and strong fortifications. Constantine began the construction of the Byzantine city in 326. It took 10 years and was completed in 330. Constantine named the new capital Roma Nova, New Rome. Constantinople remained the capital of the Byzantine Empire for over 1,000 years. During this time, the city witnessed many important events and influenced the course of world history. The founding of Constantinople meant not only the construction of a city, but also the rebirth of an empire and a civilization. Constantinople was a city that symbolized the glory and power of the Byzantine Empire. Constantine the Great, who died in 337 AD at the age of 60, left behind an enormous legacy. This legacy did not only consist of the imperial lands and the new capital Constantinople. Constantine consolidated the foundations of the Byzantine Empire, bringing about significant political, religious and cultural change. Constantine managed to reunite and stabilize the empire after the collapse of the tetrarchy system. With his new administrative system and reforms, he strengthened the empire and consolidated central authority. He created a turning point in the history of the empire by adopting Christianity as the official religion. This decision led to the spread and strengthening of Christianity in the Roman Empire. Constantine also built many churches and cathedrals for Christians and contributed to the development of the Christian faith. With the construction of Constantinople, he laid the foundations of not only a capital city, but also a new civilization. The city became a center of art, culture, and architecture, and reflected the glory of the Byzantine Empire to the whole world. With Constantine's death, the Byzantine Empire entered a new era. In this new era, the empire was shaped politically and religiously by the influence of Christianity, and the Byzantine identity became more distinct. The city of Constantinople maintained its importance as the political, commercial, and cultural center of the empire, and ensured the survival of the Byzantine Empire for over 1,000 years. The legacy of Constantine the Great is still alive today. We can see Constantine's traces in Byzantine art, architecture, and law. The Christian religion is also still important today, and Constantine's contribution to it has not been forgotten. In conclusion, Constantine the Great is not only the founder of the Byzantine Empire, but also a reformer, a leader, and a visionary. His legacy has influenced not only the Byzantine Empire, but the whole world. Dear friend, now I will tell you the story of Theodosius I. This emperor came to the throne in the late 4th century and occupies an important place in the history of the Byzantine Empire. Theodosius I was born in 347 AD. His father, Flavius Valens, was emperor of the Eastern Roman Empire. Theodosius I received military training at a young age and quickly rose to become an important commander. In 378 AD, his father was killed by the Goths and Theodosius became the Eastern Roman Emperor. Meanwhile, the Western Roman Empire was also struggling with many problems. Barbarian invasions, civil wars, and economic collapse were weakening the empire. Theodosius was determined to overcome these difficulties. First, he organized a campaign against the Goths and defeated them, preventing them from threatening the empire. Later, he also defeated Magnus Maximus, who had ascended to the throne of the Western Roman Empire, and reunited the empire. As well as reuniting the empire, Theodosius also made many important reforms. He built a strong army, reformed the legal system, and revitalized the economy. He also declared Christianity the only official religion of the empire, and banned paganism. The reign of Theodosius I is considered a golden age for the Byzantine Empire. During his reign, the empire enjoyed peace and prosperity, and there were significant advances in art, culture, and science. Theodosius I died in 395 and divided the empire between his two sons. However, this division did not last long, and the Byzantine Empire continued to exist under a single rule. Theodosius I's legacy lived on throughout the history of the Byzantine Empire, and emperors followed his example. Now let's dive a little deeper. My dear friend, the reign of Theodosius I was an important turning point not only politically and economically, but also religiously. Theodosius I carried out an important religious reform by declaring Christianity the official religion of the empire and outlawing paganism. This reform profoundly affected the identity and history of the Byzantine Empire and led to the strengthening of Orthodox Christianity. In 380, Theodosius I declared the Orthodox sect of Christianity, based on the Nicene Creed, the official religion. This decision led to the spread and strengthening of Christianity in the empire. In 391, Theodosius I officially abolished paganism from the empire by closing pagan temples and banning pagan rituals. This decision had a major impact on pagan beliefs and traditions, and many pagans were forced to convert to Christianity. Theodosius also took important steps to preserve the unity and integrity of Orthodox Christianity. To this end, they consolidated the Orthodox belief system by organizing church councils and suppressing sectarian divisions. Built during the reigns of Theodosius I and Theodosius II, Hagia Sophia became one of the most important cathedrals of Orthodox Christianity. This majestic structure is considered one of the finest examples of Byzantine architecture and symbolizes the power and splendor of the empire. The religious policy of the House of Theodosius significantly influenced the identity and history of the Byzantine Empire. The dynasty transformed Byzantium into an Orthodox Christian empire by declaring Christianity the official religion, outlawing paganism and strengthening orthodoxy. Dear friends, the reign of the House of Theodosius is remembered not only for religious reforms but also for the wars with the Goths. The Goths were a Germanic tribe that migrated from Europe in the 4th century and threatened the Roman Empire. Theodosius I organized a campaign against the Goths and defeated them, preventing them from threatening the empire. However, after Theodosius I's death, the Goths rebelled again and began to invade the empire. Under Theodosius II, the Goths invaded the Balkans and Greece and even sacked the city of Rome. This plunged the Byzantine Empire into a major crisis. Emperor Theodosius II developed a plan to defeat the Goths. He offered the Goths the opportunity to live as a people under the empire in exchange for land and money. The Goths accepted this offer and were assigned to protect the western borders of the Byzantine Empire. However, the Goths did not abide by this agreement and occasionally rebelled against the empire. This weakened the Byzantine Empire's defenses in the west and made it more vulnerable to barbarian invasions. My dear friends, the reign of the House of Theodosius was a period of significant development, not only in political, religious, and military terms, but also in legal terms. During this period, the emperors Theodosius II and II took important steps towards the compilation and systematization of Roman law. The prohibition of Theodosius in 438, Theodosius I published a law book called the Theodosian Code of Prohibition. This law book aimed to provide legal unity and order in the empire by gathering and systematizing all the legal texts of the Roman Empire. The Code of Theodosius is considered one of the most important legal texts of the Byzantine Empire and formed the basis of the legal system of the empire. It contains many important principles and rules of Roman law and was applied for centuries in the Byzantine Empire and many other countries. Compilation of Roman law during the reign of Theodosius II, efforts were made to compile a more comprehensive collection of Roman law. As a result of these efforts, a law book called the Justinian Code was published in 534. The Justinian Code is considered one of the most important compilations of Roman law and formed the basis of modern law. These laws are still practiced in many countries today. The Code of Theodosius and the Justinian Code are considered to be the legal legacy of the Byzantine Empire and contributed significantly to the development of the empire's legal and justice system. Dear friends, the House of Theodosius played an important role in the history of the Byzantine Empire. It reunited the empire, declared Christianity the official religion, fought against the Goths, and consolidated Roman law. But with the death of Theodosius III, the dynasty ended and the empire entered a political crisis. This crisis led to the division of the empire. Theodosius I died in 527, leaving no male heir. This led to a struggle over who would sit on the imperial throne. After the death of Theodosius II, the empire was divided in two. The Western Roman Empire was ruled by Justinian. The Eastern Roman Empire was ruled by Belisarius. The legacy of the House of Theodosius. The House of Theodosius left an important mark on the history of the Byzantine Empire. It reunited the empire, declared Christianity the official religion, fought against the Goths, compiled Roman law, and contributed to the development of art and literature. Dear friends, after the end of the House of Theodosius and the division of the empire, Justinian took the throne of the Byzantine Empire. Justinian was determined to revitalize the empire and restore it to its former glory. To this end, he carried out many important reforms and put talented commanders like Belisarius in charge of the army. Justinian was born in 483. He was the son of a lawyer and received a good education. Justinian became emperor in 527, and with his accession to the throne he began a grand plan to revitalize the empire. Justinian put Belisarius in charge of the army. Belisarius was a commander known for his intelligence, courage, and leadership skills. Justinian gave Belisarius the task of regaining the empire's lost territories and strengthening the empire. Belisarius did not disappoint Justinian's trust. He defeated the Vandals and brought North Africa back under Byzantine rule, the Goths in Italy, and the Ostrogoths and the Balkans. These victories of Belisarius increased the prestige and power of the Byzantine Empire. Justinian's reign is remembered not only for military victories but also for important events such as the Nika Revolt. In 532, the Nika Revolt broke out in Constantinople, a major rebellion that threatened the empire. However, Belisarius led the imperial army to put down the rebellion and save Justinian's throne. Belisarius is considered one of the most important commanders of the Byzantine Empire. His military genius and victories earned him an important place in the history of the empire. Belisarius' achievements played an important role in Justinian's plan to revitalize the empire. Let me add some detail to all this. My dear friends, Justinian carried out many reforms to revitalize the Byzantine Empire. One of the most important of these reforms was an effort to recover the empire's losses in the West. To this end, Justinian organized a series of campaigns, putting talented commanders like Belisarius at the head of the army. By the 5th century, the Byzantine Empire had lost much of its western territories to barbarian invasions. These included Italy, Gaul, Spain, and North Africa. Justinian aimed to regain these territories and restore the empire to its former borders. Belisarius played an important role in Justinian's plan to regain territory in the west. Belisarius defeated the Vandals and brought North Africa back under Byzantine rule, the Goths in Italy, and the Ostrogoths in the Balkans. These victories of Belisarius increased the prestige and power of the Byzantine Empire. Justinian's reign is remembered not only for military victories but also for important events such as the Nika Revolt. In 532, the Nika Revolt in Constantinople was a major rebellion that threatened the empire. Belisarius led the imperial army to crush the rebellion and save Justinian's throne. Justinian's efforts to regain territory in the west had mixed results for the Byzantine Empire. On the one hand, these efforts expanded the empire's borders and increased its prestige. On the other hand, these long and expensive wars weakened the empire financially and led to internal turmoil. My dear friends, Justinian's reign is remembered not only for military victories and territorial gains, but also for important developments in art and architecture. During this period, Byzantine art experienced its golden age and magnificent monuments such as Hagia Sophia were built. Justinian had regained the throne after the Nika Revolt in 532 and was determined to rebuild the capital of the empire. In this context, he ordered the construction of Hagia Sophia. Hagia Sophia was built as the largest and most magnificent church in the world at the time. This magnificent structure is considered one of the most important examples of Byzantine architecture, and today it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Hagia Sophia is a domed basilica. Its dome was built as the largest dome in the world at the time. The interior of Hagia Sophia is decorated with marble and mosaics. These mosaics depict scenes from the Bible and portraits of Byzantine emperors. During the reign of Justinian, Byzantine art experienced its golden age. During this period, important works of art such as mosaics, frescoes, sculptures, and miniatures were produced. The mosaics of Hagia Sophia are considered one of the most important examples of Byzantine art. My dear friends, Justinian was an emperor known not only for military victories and works of art, but also for legal reforms. One of his most important legal reforms was the reorganization of Roman law and the drafting of the Justinian Code. Roman law under Justinian was a legal system that had accumulated over centuries and had become complex. This made it difficult to apply and created problems for those seeking justice. Justinian set up a commission to reorganize Roman law and make it simpler and more understandable. This commission produced a book of laws known as the Justinian Code. The Justinian Code is considered one of the most important compilations of Roman law and is still practiced in many countries today. The Code of Justinian consisted of four main parts. These are: Codex, a compilation of existing laws; Pandex, a collection of the writings of Roman jurists; Institutes, an introduction to the basic principles of Roman law; Novellae, a collection of new laws enacted under Justinian. The Justinian Code is important in many ways. They contributed to the reorganization of Roman law and made it simpler and more comprehensible. They also helped to develop law in Europe and formed the basis of modern legal systems. Justinian is considered one of the most important emperors of the Byzantine Empire. His reign is considered the golden age of the empire. Justinian's reforms, the military victories of Belisarius, the construction of Hagia Sophia, the peak of Byzantine art, and the Justinian Code significantly influenced the history and culture of the Byzantine Empire. Dear friends, during the reign of Justinian, there were not only emperors and commanders, but also powerful and influential women. One of these women was Empress Theodora. Theodora is considered the wife of Justinian and one of the most important figures of the Byzantine Empire. Theodora was born in Constantinople in 500. Her father was a bear-bearer and her mother was an actress. In her youth, Theodora worked as an actress and dancer. She was known for her beauty and intelligence. In 525, she married Justinian. Theodora played an important political role throughout Justinian's reign. She advised her husband and took part in many important decisions. She also contributed to the development of art and culture. Theodora also took important steps to improve women's rights. She expanded women's property rights, reformed divorce and inheritance, and provided women with education and job opportunities. Theodora is considered one of the most important and influential women of the Byzantine Empire. Her power, intelligence, and reforms have an important place in Byzantine history and culture. My dear friends, in the course of time, empires rise, reach their peak, and sometimes fall. The Byzantine Empire was a civilization that had its share of this universal rule. Byzantium, which experienced its golden age during the glorious reign of Justinian, entered a series of wars known as the Arab Storm in the 7th century, opening the doors to a period of decline. The reasons behind this storm were complex. The emergence of a new religion, Islam, in the Arabian Peninsula, and its rapid influence on a large number of people created a new force against Byzantium. At the same time, post-Justinian Byzantium was weakened by internal turmoil, economic hardship, and epidemics. The Arab armies were motivated by strong faith and discipline. They were also faster and more mobile than Byzantine armies. This made it difficult for Byzantium to resist the Arab armies. The consequences of the Arab storm were devastating. Byzantium lost important territories such as Syria, Egypt, North Africa, and Spain to the conquered Arabs. The loss of these territories significantly weakened Byzantium's economy and political power. At the same time, Islam spread to the newly conquered lands. This posed a threat to Byzantium's Christian identity. The Arab storm represented the beginning of the decline of the Byzantine Empire. During this period, the empire had to constantly contend with internal turmoil and external threats. As a sage, I look at history with a witnessing eye. As brilliant as the golden age of Byzantium was, the Arab storm was just as devastating. It marked the end not only of an empire but also of an era. But let us not forget that every end is accompanied by a beginning. While the Islamic world was on the rise with the Arab storm, the Byzantine Empire had to embark on a new path. This new path was fraught with difficulties and uncertainties, but also with new hopes and possibilities. Dear friends, when we tell the story of the Arab storm, we cannot fail to mention the wars between Byzantium and the Arabs. These wars continued throughout the 7th century and were one of the most important factors in the decline of Byzantium. In addition to the reasons mentioned above, there were many religious, political, and economic tensions between Byzantium and the Arabs. While Byzantium, as a Christian empire, was trying to prevent the spread of Islam, the Arabs were aiming to spread Islam and increase their political power by conquering Byzantine lands. The first major conflict took place in 636 at the Battle of Yarmouk. In this battle, the Arab armies inflicted a major defeat on the Byzantine army. This defeat ended the Byzantine rule in Syria and facilitated the advance of the Arab armies into Anatolia. In 637, Arab armies under Caliph Umar conquered Jerusalem. This was an important holy city for Christians, and its conquest caused great grief in Byzantium. In 640, Egypt was also conquered by Arab armies. Egypt was an important granary for Byzantium, and its loss weakened the empire's economy. In 642, Byzantine rule in North Africa also came to an end. As a result of the Arab storm, Byzantium lost important territories in Syria, Egypt, North Africa, and Spain. The loss of these lands significantly weakened Byzantium's economy and political power. At the same time, the empire's population and territory were greatly reduced. The Byzantine-Arab Wars had important consequences not only for Byzantium but also for the history of the Mediterranean and the Middle East. They led to Islam becoming the dominant power in the region and the beginning of the decline of the Byzantine Empire. Dear friends, one of the most important events of the Arab storm was the conquest of Jerusalem. It is considered a holy city for Christians, Jews, and Muslims, and its conquest significantly affected the religious and political balance in the Middle East. For Christians, Jerusalem is considered the place where Jesus Christ was crucified and ascended into heaven. It is also a holy city for Jews and is mentioned many times in the Torah. For Muslims, Jerusalem is home to important religious buildings such as the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock. In 637, Arab armies under the command of Caliph Omar besieged Jerusalem. The Byzantines tried to defend the city, but they could not resist the Arab armies and were forced to surrender the city. The conquest of Jerusalem was a great loss for Byzantium. This city was not only religiously important but also strategically important. The loss of Jerusalem led to the decline of Byzantine influence and power in the Middle East. At the same time, the conquest of Jerusalem was a great victory for Islam. It became one of the holiest cities in Islam and played an important role in the spread of Islam. The conquest of Jerusalem was not just the loss of a city for Byzantium. It also meant the loss of many lands that were sacred to Christians. The loss of these lands was also a blow to Byzantium's Christian identity. Dear friends, the effects of the Arab storm were not only felt on the battlefields. It also deeply shook the economic and social fabric of Byzantium and was one of the most important factors in the empire's transition from its golden age to a period of decline. The loss of trade routes weakened the Byzantine economy as if it had cut the blood vessels. The routes through which valuable goods such as silk and spices once passed were now under the control of Arab armies. This drastically reduced Byzantium's sources of income and pushed the empire into the shadow of poverty. The decline in tax revenues was another blow to the Byzantine treasury. The conquered territories ceased to pay taxes to Byzantium. This weakened the empire's finances and led to the disruption of public services. Economic difficulties brought problems such as inflation and currency devaluation. Even shopping and meeting basic needs became difficult. This led to discontent and rebellion among the population. The wars and migrations also significantly reduced Byzantium's population. The people who cultivated the fields, fought in the ranks of the army, and contributed to the development of the empire began to disappear. This weakened Byzantium's economy and its defenses. Economic hardship and political instability led to unrest and uprisings in Byzantine society. The people were dissatisfied with the empire and the government. This led to an increase in civil unrest and rebellions. With the Arab conquests, Islam began to spread in Byzantine lands. This led to tensions between Christians and Muslims. Religious intolerance and discrimination disrupted the unity of Byzantine society and began to eat away at the empire from within. The effects of the Arab storm affected not only the economy and society of Byzantium, but also the soul of the empire. Byzantium, once strong and glorious, became weak and tired after the storm. Its golden age was over, and a period of decline had begun. As a sage, as a witness to history, the impact of the Arab storm on Byzantium was devastating. It marked the end not only of an empire but also of an era. But let us not forget that every end is accompanied by a beginning. As the Islamic world was on the rise with the Arab storm, the Byzantine Empire had to embark on a new path. This new path was fraught with difficulties and uncertainties, but also with new hopes and possibilities. Dear friends, as we move forward in time, let us witness a storm that shook the Byzantine Empire in the 8th century. This storm was the raging controversy of iconoclasm over the use of sacred images and statues. On one side were the iconoclasts, who believed that icons and statues were sacrilege and idolatry. They argued that God is a spiritual being and cannot be depicted. They argued that the Bible also contained a clear prohibition on the use of images and statues, arguing that such depictions could lead to idolatry. On the other side were the iconodules, who believed that icons were a way of paying homage to God and the saints and were appropriate for use in prayers and religious ceremonies. They argued that by depicting sacred texts and religious stories, icons and statues could educate the people in religion and increase concentration in prayer. These two views were like a firing line dividing Byzantium in two. Iconoclast emperors implemented policies that banned the use of icons and statues and destroyed them. This caused great anger and discontent among the iconodules. Tensions in the empire increased and religious divisions deepened. Icons and statues were broken in the streets, churches were vandalized, and iconodules were repressed. This storm began to threaten the political and religious stability of Byzantium. But this storm did not last forever. In the 9th century, Emperor Basil II, 877 to 886, reversed the policies against iconodules and again liberalized the use of icons and statues. This event is considered the end of the iconoclasm movement. The iconoclasm controversy left a deep mark on Byzantine theology and art. It influenced the style of Byzantine art and the way icons were depicted. It is also considered an important example of religious and political division in Byzantine history. As a sage, I would also like to share the lessons to be learned from this storm. Debates over images and religious beliefs can always lead to tensions and divisions. Therefore, it is very important to communicate in a tolerant and respectful way and to be open to different points of view. Let us not forget that every storm has an end and every darkness has a light. The iconoclasm controversy also taught Byzantium important lessons and contributed to the recovery and strengthening of the empire. Dear friends, the migrations of the Slavic peoples not only changed the demographic and political map of Europe, but also led to the establishment of new relations between the Byzantine Empire and the Slavic kingdoms and principalities. These relations included diplomacy, trade, missionary work, and warfare. The Byzantine Empire tried to maintain its influence in the Balkans by establishing diplomatic relations with the Slavic kingdoms and principalities. These relations could take the form of peace treaties, trade agreements, and alliances. The Byzantine Empire also tried to revitalize its economy by trading with Slavic kingdoms and principalities. This trade was based on products such as silk, spices, wine, and slaves. The Byzantine Empire also took steps to spread its religion. It carried out missionary activities to Christianize the Slavic peoples. In this way, it was able to establish cultural and religious ties with Slavic kingdoms and principalities. Sometimes the Byzantine Empire had to fight wars with Slavic kingdoms and principalities. These wars could be due to territorial disputes or resistance to Byzantine rule in the Balkans. The migrations of Slavic peoples led to the creation of many new Slavic principalities. These principalities were often ruled by tribal leaders and tried to maintain their independence against the influence of the Byzantine Empire. Dear friends, with the migration of Slavic peoples and the establishment of new principalities, new political powers began to emerge in Europe. The most important of these powers were Bulgaria and Russia. In time, these two principalities became powerful enough to rival the Byzantine Empire. Founded in the 7th century, the Bulgarian Empire accepted Christianity in the 9th century and tried to establish cultural and religious ties with Byzantium. Over time, however, Bulgaria began to challenge Byzantine political and religious domination. In 917, under Tsar Simeon I, Bulgaria defeated Byzantium and became the most powerful political power in the Balkans. In the 9th century, Russia, the center of the Kiev Principality, had an important position on trade routes. Russian princes prospered by trading with Byzantium and collecting tribute from the Vikings. In the 10th century, under Vladimir I, Russia accepted Christianity and tried to establish cultural and religious ties with Byzantium. Over time, however, Russia also began to challenge Byzantine political and religious domination. In 1018, Grand Prince Vladimir I defeated Byzantium and became the most powerful political power in Eastern Europe. The rise of Bulgaria and Russia posed a significant threat to the Byzantine Empire. These two principalities challenged Byzantine dominance in the Balkans and Eastern Europe and sought to gain control of the trade routes with Byzantium. The Byzantine Empire responded to the rise of Bulgaria and Russia in different ways: diplomacy, alliances, and war. Byzantium tried to influence Bulgaria and Russia by spreading Christianity among the Slavic peoples and sending missionaries. Byzantium also tried to isolate Bulgaria and Russia by forming alliances with other Slavic principalities. The rise of Bulgaria and Russia led to the weakening of the Byzantine Empire's dominance in Europe. These two principalities gradually replaced Byzantium as the new political powers in the Balkans and Eastern Europe. Dear friends, in the late 9th and early 10th centuries, the Byzantine Empire was in deep crisis. Arab conquests and the rise of Bulgaria on the outside, and struggles for the throne and political instability on the inside were weakening the empire. It was precisely in this dark period that the Macedonian dynasty would come on the scene and reborn Byzantium from the ashes. My dear friends, Basileus II, one of the most important emperors of the Macedonian dynasty, has an important place in the military history of Byzantium. Basileus II, also known as the Bulgarian Cutter, expanded the borders of the Byzantine Empire during his 20-year reign and became one of the most powerful emperors of the Eastern Roman Empire. Basileus II ascended the throne in 976 at the age of 18. Despite his young age, Basileus II was noted for his military skill and decisive leadership. Immediately after his accession, he reorganized the Byzantine army and launched a campaign against Bulgaria. Basileus I won a series of victories against Bulgaria and conquered Bulgaria in 1018. This victory allowed Byzantium to re-establish its dominance in the Balkans. Basileus I organized campaigns not only against Bulgaria, but also against other enemies in the east. He won a series of victories against Georgia, Armenia, and Syria, and expanded the borders of the Byzantine Empire. Basileus I is considered one of the most important emperors of the Byzantine Empire. During his 20-year reign, he expanded the borders of Byzantium and became one of the most powerful emperors of the Eastern Roman Empire. Basileus I's military achievements form an important part of Byzantium's political and military legacy. Dear friends, during the reign of the Macedonian dynasty, the Byzantine Empire experienced a great revival, not only politically and militarily, but also economically, commercially, artistically, and literarily. This period is considered the golden age of Byzantium. I think I should mention some of the reasons for the significant economic and commercial development. During the Macedonian dynasty, the Byzantine Empire enjoyed political stability and peace. This contributed to the development of trade and the economy. Byzantium was able to reopen trade routes that had been weakened by the Arab conquests and the rise of Bulgaria. In this way, Byzantium benefited greatly from trade in the Mediterranean and Black Sea. Byzantium began to trade in new products such as silk, spices, wine, and slaves. Byzantium also gained an important place in the trade routes between East and West. During the Macedonian dynasty, the Byzantine currency appreciated in value, which helped the economy. We also witnessed a golden age in terms of art and literature. During the Macedonian dynasty, Byzantine architecture made great progress. Iconic buildings such as Hagia Sophia and Hagia Sophia were built during this period. Byzantine mosaic art enjoyed its golden age during the Macedonian dynasty. The mosaics of Hagia Sophia and other Byzantine churches are among the most important works of art of this period. The art of miniature painting in Byzantine manuscripts also developed during this period. These miniatures provide important information about Byzantine history and culture. New trends also emerged in literature during the Macedonian dynasty. Especially historical works and religious texts attracted great attention during this period. The Golden Age of Byzantium saw the empire reach its political, economic, cultural, and artistic peak. Byzantium became the most powerful empire in the East and significantly influenced the political, economic, and cultural map of Europe. I will now tell you, my friends, a story of critical importance for Byzantine history. Once upon a time, there were two churches united under a single Christian banner, offering their souls to God in common faith and worship. The Eastern Church in the East, shining in the light of the Byzantine Empire, and the Western Church in the West, carrying the legacy of the Roman Empire. But over time, the differences between the churches began to accumulate like grains of sand. Differences over language, theology, and papal authority drove the two churches apart like a chasm. While the Eastern Church held firmly to the sanctity of the Greek language and traditional interpretations, the Western Church believed in the power of Latin and an openness to change. Theological debates about the nature of God and the two persons of Christ also fueled the flames. In the West, the authority of the Pope soared to the skies, while in the East, the patriarchs resisted this power. The interpretation and translation of sacred texts became a battleground. A great explosion was inevitable. In 1054, the dispute between Pope Leo IX and Patriarch Michael I broke out like a storm and separated the Eastern and Western churches forever. This separation left a deep wound in the Christian world, and relations between the two churches were doomed to remain strained for centuries. Sage Bilge would like to add that there is a cautionary lesson in this story. Differences and disagreements are inevitable. The important thing is to manage them with respect and dialogue. We must listen to each other, try to understand each other, and strive to find common ground. Otherwise, as happened to the Eastern and Western churches, divisions and tensions can lead our souls into darkness. Dear friends, in the 11th century, the Christian world embarked on a great crusade against the Muslims to capture Jerusalem and the Holy Land. These campaigns are known as the Crusades and lasted for over 200 years. There were many different reasons for the Crusades. Many Christians who joined the Crusades had a sense of religious duty to take back the Holy Land from the Muslims and to protect the holy places of Christianity. Some who joined the Crusades were also motivated to open new trade routes and gain wealth. The Crusades were also used as a tool to change the balance of political power in Europe and to defend the Byzantine Empire against the Muslims. The Crusades also provided an opportunity for knights in Europe to seek adventure and glory. The participants in the Crusades came from different social and economic backgrounds. The most important warriors of the Crusades were the knights. Knights were specially trained as mounted warriors and sworn to fight to protect the Christian faith. Many clergymen also took part in the Crusades. Priests provided spiritual guidance to the armies, as well as medical care and other services. Some peasants who joined the Crusades were motivated by the hope of a better life or to gain land and wealth. The Crusades also created new trading opportunities for merchants. In addition to providing food and supplies for the armies, merchants brought spices, silk, and other goods from the Holy Land to Europe. The Crusades had a profound impact on Europe and the Middle East. The Crusades radically changed relations between Europe and the Middle East. Trade and cultural interaction between the two regions increased, but so did hostility and violence. The Crusades contributed to the weakening of the feudal system in Europe. The power of the knights declined and kings and city-states gained more power. The Crusades led to prolonged political instability in the Middle East. There were constant wars and conflicts between Muslim and Christian states. Among the Crusades, there was only one crusade that succeeded. Let me tell you about this crusade. Once upon a time, in 1095, Pope Urban II issued a call to Christians across Europe to unite to take back the Holy Land. Hundreds of thousands of people heeded the call and set out from all over Europe to join the crusade. They were knights, peasants, monks, and merchants. They all set out for different reasons. Some were fighting for their religious beliefs, some were looking for adventure, and some wanted to gain wealth. The Crusaders reached Jerusalem in 1099 after a long and difficult journey. They laid siege to the city, and after months of fighting, they succeeded in capturing Jerusalem. This victory was greeted with great enthusiasm in the Christian world. However, the conquest of Jerusalem was not the end of the Crusades. After the First Crusade, many expeditions were organized from Europe to the Middle East. During these campaigns, there were many battles between Muslims and Christians. The Fourth Crusade was a campaign launched by Pope Innocent III in 1202 and culminated in the conquest of Constantinople in 1204. It is considered one of the most complex and controversial of the Crusades. In 1204, the armies participating in the Fourth Crusade unexpectedly attacked Constantinople and sacked the city. This is considered one of the most shameful and tragic events of the Crusades. There were several important reasons for the Crusaders' attack on Constantinople. Some of them are as follows. The Venetians wanted to gain control over the Byzantine Empire's trade routes and protect their commercial interests. In addition, the Crusaders were unable to pay money owed to Venetian merchants, and the Venetians convinced them to attack Constantinople. On top of that, the Byzantine Empire was in a weak position in the 12th century, and the Crusaders wanted to take advantage of this situation. Crusaders and Byzantines belonged to different Christian denominations due to the division of the Eastern and Western churches. This caused the Crusaders to be prejudiced against the Byzantines. The Crusaders' attack on Constantinople led to the destruction of the city. The Crusaders sacked the city, destroyed many historical monuments, and killed thousands of people. This event led to the fall of the Byzantine Empire and the establishment of Constantinople as the Latin Empire. The Byzantine Empire then split again and was never reunited until the fall of the Latin Empire. The Fourth Crusade shocked the Christian world and further strained relations between the Eastern and Western churches. The Crusaders' attack on Constantinople was an important event in the history of Europe and the Middle East. It is seen as an example of the savagery and barbarism of the Crusades. It also shows the depth of the division between the Eastern and Western churches, and how destructive the internal conflicts of the Christian world could be. The Byzantine Empire was in the midst of a major political and economic crisis. The empire was plagued by internal conflicts, external attacks, and territorial losses. It was during this period that the Komnenos dynasty came onto the scene and took important steps to revitalize Byzantium. Alexios, the first emperor of the Komnenos dynasty, was in a difficult position at the beginning of the Crusades. On the one hand, he was seeking support from the West, hoping for help against the Seljuk Turks, who had conquered Anatolia. On the other hand, he was worried about the chaotic and uncontrollable nature of the Crusader armies and the possibility of them capturing Constantinople. In 1095, Alexios, pressed by the Seljuks, appealed to Pope Urban II for help. In a speech at the Council of Clermont, the Pope called on Christians to join an expedition to the Holy Land. This call marked the beginning of the First Crusade. When the Crusaders arrived in Constantinople in 1096, Alexios took an oath from them and accepted their allegiance to the Byzantine Empire. He then led the Crusaders to Anatolia to fight against the Seljuks. In this way, Alexios managed both to reduce the Seljuk threat and to keep the Crusaders away from Constantinople. However, relations with the Crusaders were not always smooth. The Crusaders felt that Alexios was not helping them enough and was not willing to share the spoils with them. Also, some Crusaders did not hesitate to plunder and pillage Byzantine territory. This led to tensions between Alexios and the Crusader leaders. Alexios managed to temporarily halt the collapse of the Byzantine Empire by skillfully using the Crusades. However, his relations with the Crusaders were complex and challenging. They set an important precedent for future Crusades and Byzantine-Western relations. Alexios was able to use the Crusades to counter the Seljuk threat, but relations with the Crusaders were not always smooth and were fraught with tensions. Alexios' struggle against the Crusaders was important for the future of Byzantine-Western relations. Alexios' successors, the remaining members of the House of Komnenos, managed to revitalize the Byzantine economy and military power. Agricultural production increased, trade routes were reopened, and new systems of taxation were implemented. These developments helped to improve Byzantium's finances and strengthen the military. The Komnenos dynasty also left an important artistic and cultural legacy. There was a revival in Byzantine architecture, mosaic art, and manuscript production. It also produced important works of literature and philosophy. Although the last centuries of Byzantium witnessed political and military difficulties, it was also a period of economic and cultural revival. Under the leadership of the House of Komnenos, Byzantium managed to remain a major power in the Mediterranean for some time. Under the last emperors of the Komnenos dynasty, Manuel Komnenos 1143 to 1180 and Andronikos I Komnenos 1183 to 1195, Byzantium was weakened by internal strife and external aggression. After the death of Manuel I, weak emperors ascended the throne, plunging the empire into further. In 1204, the Crusaders participating in the Fourth Crusade unexpectedly sacked Constantinople and captured the Byzantine capital. This event was the turning point that marked the end of the Byzantine Empire. The Crusaders divided the Byzantine lands between the Latin Empire and various independent states. After the fall of Constantinople, Byzantium was divided into successor states, such as the Despotate of Epirus, the Empire of Nicaea, and the Empire of Trebizond. The most powerful of these states was the Empire of Nicaea. In 1261, Emperor Michael VIII Palaiologos of Nicaea 1259 to 1282 defeated the Latin Empire, recaptured Constantinople, and restored the Byzantine Empire. The Palaiologos dynasty was the last dynasty of Byzantium and ruled the empire until 1453. During this period, Byzantium did not fully regain its former power and glory. However, the Palaiologos emperors managed to stabilize the empire, revive the economy, and develop culture. The last centuries of Byzantium were a period of great political and military turmoil. With the fall of the Komnenos dynasty and the devastating effects of the Fourth Crusade, the empire was fragmented and weakened. However, with the rise of the Palaiologos dynasty, Byzantium began to reunite, and there was a glimmer of hope in its last centuries. The Palaiologos emperors succeeded in stabilizing the empire, reviving the economy and improving culture. Thanks to this, Byzantium survived until the Ottoman conquest in 1453. In 1453, Mehmet the Conqueror, the young and ambitious Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, was determined to conquer Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. It would be a historic victory that would not only mark the end of Byzantium, but also the rise of the Ottomans as a world power. Mehmet the Conqueror drew up a comprehensive plan to capture the city and executed it with determination. Mehmet the Conqueror's plan included several elements to overcome the defenses of Constantinople. Mehmet the Conqueror gathered an army of 80,000 men and arrived in Constantinople to lay siege to the city. This army included janissaries, sipahi, and soldiers from various parts of Anatolia. Mehmet the Conqueror carried cannons of unprecedented size and power to Constantinople. These cannons were cast by the Hungarian engineer Urban and were known as Dundar and Basilic. These cannons were to be used to destroy the city walls. Mehmet the Conqueror also prepared a navy to control the Sea of Marmara. This fleet consisted of more than 70 ships and 15,000 sailors. The aim of the navy was to prevent aid from reaching Byzantium by sea and to besiege the city from the sea. Attacks from land and sea. Mehmet the Conqueror planned to force the city's defenses by attacking it from both land and sea. This plan aimed to break the Byzantines' defenses and increase the chances of capturing the city. The siege lasted 53 days and was very fierce. The Ottoman army used their cannons extensively to destroy the city walls. For days and nights they fired at the walls, making huge breaches. The Byzantines, on the other hand, put up a brave defense and held the city for a long time. Led by Emperor Palaeologos VIII and General Lucas Notaras, the Byzantine army and people worked day and night to close the breaches and repel the Ottoman attacks. However, in the face of the Ottoman army and the determination of Mehmet the Conqueror, the Byzantines were finally forced to succumb. On May 29, 1453, in the last major assault, the Ottoman army managed to enter the city through the breaches and Constantinople fell. Mehmet the Conqueror showed great determination and leadership throughout the siege. Despite the difficulties, he never gave up and used every method to achieve his goal. The Ottoman army showed great strength and discipline throughout the siege. Janissaries were one of the most important elements of the siege and played an important role in capturing the city by fighting bravely. The Byzantines put up a heroic resistance throughout the siege. They defended the city for a long time and gave the Ottoman army great difficulties. The cannons used by Sultan Mehmet the Conqueror during the siege were of unprecedented power. These cannons played an important role in destroying the city walls and turned the course of the siege in favor of the Ottomans. The conquest of Constantinople was a historic event that symbolized not only the end of the Byzantine Empire, but also the rise of the Ottoman Empire. It was an important turning point that changed the course of world history. For nearly 1,000 years, the Byzantine Empire was one of the most powerful and important states in the Mediterranean. Byzantium had a rich cultural and artistic heritage and played an important role in keeping alive the traditions of ancient Greek civilization and the Christian religion. Byzantine art, architecture, and literature profoundly influenced medieval Europe and the Islamic world. Byzantium was a major producer of mosaic art, fresco painting, icon making, and manuscripts. Iconic buildings such as Hagia Sophia and important works of Byzantine literature are still admired today. The Byzantine Empire had important laws, such as the Code of Justinian. These laws formed the basis of the European legal system and are still valid today. The Byzantine system of government was also very complex and sophisticated and influenced the system of government of the Ottoman Empire. Byzantium was the center of Christianity and played an important role in the development of the Orthodox Church. Byzantine scholars did important work in areas such as theology, philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy, which was passed on to the Islamic world and Europe. The Ottoman Empire was founded in Anatolia in the 13th century and quickly grew in power, becoming a major threat to Byzantium. With the conquest of Constantinople in 1453, the Ottoman Empire inherited Byzantium's legacy and became a world power. The Ottoman Empire had a strong army and a centralized administrative system. This enabled it to conquer a vast geography and rule for a long time. The Ottoman Empire was an empire where different cultures and religions came together. This contributed to the cultural richness of the empire and led to the development of different types of art and literature. The Ottoman Empire was located on an important trade route, and this contributed to its economic development. The empire also made significant progress in areas such as agriculture and animal husbandry. The legacy of Byzantium and the rise of the Ottoman Empire is one of the most important events in world history. These two empires left an important mark in many fields such as culture, art, law, administration, and economy. The effects of this legacy are still felt today. Thus, I have explained the history of Byzantium to you. If you haven't watched it yet, you can access my video explaining the history of ancient Egypt on the channel. Thank you for subscribing and turning on notifications. See you in the next video, my friends.